Pledge of Allegiance, and then we're going to have a brief moment of silence for our military, our first responders, and the people of Ukraine. Thank you. Whitehall Township has an obligation to affirmatively further fair housing and to review all land use applications in accordance with federal civil rights statutes. This includes taking meaningful actions that overcome patterns of segregation and foster inclusive communities free from barriers that restrict access to opportunity based on protected characteristics. The township, in its land use decisions, does not discriminate against persons based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, disability, or familial status, and reviews all land use applications in accordance with federal civil rights statutes. Public comments made on the basis of bias and stereotype concerning people within these protected classes will not be taken into consideration by the township in its deliberations. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Please pull the board.
Commissioner Atiyah?
Yes.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker? Aye. Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
And President Marks.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 5 ayes, 0 nays.
I'd like to also announce that an executive session was held on Monday, February 6th, after the February meeting that was canceled. That was our regular meeting for legal reasons. The agenda has changed tonight. Citroni Ambulance was here to make a presentation to the citizens of Whitehall and the board and the mayor. They canceled, so Mr. Philip Armstrong, our county executive, is here to give us an update on everything that's happening in Lehigh County. Mr. Armstrong, thank you for coming.
Thank you. It's I just got a little sentimental, and everything I learned about government, I sat between Tom and Phil there, and probably the two best mentors I think anybody could ever have. They taught me that when there was a problem, you get it solved. It didn't matter what political party you were, and I think that's what we've been doing in the county. As far as an update on the county, we're really, really proud of the cooperation that we're getting from Whitehall and the city of Allentown and the state and PennDOT on expanding our rails to trail. I think it's going to really mean a lot of benefits for Whitehall Township in the long run. But to get two cities, a state, PennDOT, and a county all on the same page, it was quite an undertaking, but I'm really happy that that has come about. As you saw, there was a press conference in the paper. We have gone ahead and we've saved our iron pigs, and that took a lot of cooperation between the state, the Chamber of Commerce, even Northampton County, the owners, our county. It was a very good collaborative effort, and I think that's what we've been really doing in the county. We're working now on so many things that we want to have cooperation with our 25 municipalities and townships, etc. I put in my budget, and we have a new person. Mr. Marks, as president of the board, I will pass on to you and make sure we get a contact information. But I hired a community liaison person to work for us in the county because of all of the grants, all of the programs that we have done through the CARES funding, through ARPA funding, through the rent assistance programs, and all of them. I thought we needed to have a better relationship between all of the towns. And Yorman De La Rosa has come on board, and he will be your man, and I will make sure he contacts Jack here, make sure Jack gets his name and number, and the fact that if there is a problem, I know a lot of times I found out going to these meetings over the years, well, we tried to contact him, we tried to get a hold of him. So this way, I have a person that if you contact, he gets it done or he'll be out of work, okay? That's just the way as simple as I can put it. But really, Ed, I come here and all 24 other municipalities once a year because I think it's more important that I show up to answer any questions you might have about anything that's going on in the county than me to try to stand here and do a song and dance. Mr. Ginder taught me a long time ago not to do that. I don't sing well and I don't dance well.
Save your money.
Save my money, yes. So what I'd like to say is, do you have any questions on anything, any programs or whatever, and we can answer them.
I don't have a question, but I just want to say, Phil, I think you're wrong. You do dance pretty well.
Well, it's, used to be on TV Bandstand a long, long time ago. So, any questions?
Oh, but I want to make one comment. I want to thank you for your gracious comments, and pass through that. But most of all, I want to thank you for taking the time to come to Whitehall tonight. Talk to us, talk to the residents. You're doing a fine job.
Well, I had
You're doing a
good
fine
teachers.
job. I think the residents see it. I know we see it here in the township. There's better cooperation than ever with the county. And I want to thank you for that. Thank you personally.
Thank you, and you know what, I don't know if this had anything to do with it, but I am the only county executive ever elected north of Route 22. So, south of 22, it always had, so we got together. I'm here for 3 more years, so, term limited then, so if you have any job openings, you know, let me know. I'm good for 3 more.
I'd like to comment, Mr. Armstrong, I think your initiative sounds wonderful. I think community outreach is very important. And I value the working relationship Whitehall Township has with the county. And I'm glad you're a Whitehall guy, and I'm glad you're successful, and it goes a long way,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I'd say, after 40 years of teaching, I remember reading in the paper, opening on the Whitehall Township Board, and there were 9 applicants, and I'll never forget the interview. He asked me, what would be my goals, and I said, I have none. He said, what would I like to accomplish? I said, I have no idea what you even do. It was probably my worst job interview ever, but thanks to guidance, we got here and we got a lot of things done, so.
And like you said about Phil and Tom, you were one of my mentors.
Yeah.
So you were the
Yeah,
president of the board when I came on board, and thank you for that.
Well, does anybody from the audience have any questions on the county?
I have some questions.
Yes,
Okay.
Chuck has
yes,
some questions.
sure.
So first off, thank you for coming out. It's much appreciated that, the county can come down and, make this communication. And I have to agree with you, serving with Phil and Tom and Joe, it's been a great, mentoring experience. It's really brought me up. So, I mean, we're both of the school of Phil and Tom, so that's much appreciated.
There's probably a lot of graduates of that
Yes.
program.
But now I actually have questions.
Sure.
Okay, so first off, I follow the EV charging stuff a lot, and I know the county is putting them in different locations, and I guess my question is, what is the county's plan? Where are we going? Are we applying for grants? Where are we at?
Yes, yes, and yes. It's more of a PennDOT. It's more of a, as Becky Bradley in the County Planning Commission has said, we're paying for a study to find, it shouldn't be, look, I think should be one there. We need data to know where they should go, apply for the grants to get them. And yes, I have been very fortunate that I've been elected to, not just this job, but I'm on the executive board of the County Executives of America, and I'm also part of a group of 21 county executives from around the United States. And we meet twice a year. So I kind of find out where these grants are coming before they get out there, and it's been an advantage to us. Even the ARPA funds, I knew exactly how much we were going to get about 60 days prior to the even was announced that we could already start planning. By the way, speaking of funds and planning, and I saw Chief Nelson sitting in the back, we are now working on a resolution that every volunteer fireman in Lehigh County, because of the state law that was just passed, we are allowed to then give, and what we're doing, and we're working on a little fine tuning of it now, but a $150 tax rebate on their real estate tax every year for the volunteer firemen, because all of the departments are hurting. And this is, it's the only thing we can do. We only have one tax, and that's the real estate tax.
I mean, that's really good, and that's definitely commendable in our
We hope
firefighters.
it we hope it helps.
It is.
That's-
My other question on the EVs, like, do we have a way we can like follow along, or do we have a timeline of how this will come through, or?
Well, I guess.
What can we as a township do to help
Well,
facilitate this
Mr. Kinder,
process?
you're on the planning commission, right, as a representative. There's your man,
Okay,
right there. He'll give you all of the updates, but right now it's in the planning stage and the applying for the grants. But it is going to be quite a project.
yeah. No, if there's anything that we can do as a township to facilitate this process, you know, we have MacArthur Road, we have such a massive
malls.
retail corridor. I mean, this is a place where they should be going in.
Yes, absolutely,
This would be benefiting our community, this would be benefiting the stores, you know.
absolutely.
It would help. And my second question, this is kind of like a wider one, but I know there had been some discussions recently regarding like a food inspection in the township. And I know like the state does a lot of the inspections and certain municipalities do inspections, and thoughts have been thrown around about like, you know, where does the county stand on like, you know, food inspectors for
The county
restaurants?
does not have a health department.
Okay.
We commissioned a study with some of the funding we have. Because we have the city of Allentown and the city of Bethlehem, which both have health departments inside our county, and we have two of the biggest, best hospitals in the state in our county, it doesn't look at right now, the expense that the taxpayers would have to pay to have a health department. So the food inspections would have to be done on the state level at this point. Yeah, we're looking at $8 to $18 million a year extra if we decided to go. We're still looking at it, but I can't see that much money for the benefit that we would get from it. You have to kind of look at burden to the taxpayer, outcome from it, so. But the state, anytime you'd have a problem, that's who they're supposed to do.
I appreciate it. I may have follow-up questions about this at a later point, but
Sure.
I won't belabor it now.
Yeah, but hey, you're Mon Dela Rosa, anytime, and if he doesn't answer, he gets to me and I make sure I answer.
You and I are gonna become good friends soon.
Okay.
But no, I appreciate
All right.
everything you're doing. I appreciate everything
Thank
you've
you.
done, and you know, keep it up.
It's fun,
It is.
it is fun. So-
Thanks. Thanks, Phil, but you don't know which one of, yeah.
What's the status of the trail there?
We need him at the microphone. We can't,
Sir, if you can please come
Recording.
up and state your name and address.
Sorry, Ronnie Mulchaney.
No, no.
No, no,
Up
please
to
come
the
up to the
microphone.
microphone. Sorry about that.
No problem. Tony Mulchaney, 4235 Ammon Way. Status of the rail trail.
Okay.
And an update on that project?
Sure, absolutely. PennDOT has given us kind of here's what has to happen. The city of Allentown, the county of Lehigh, and the township of Whitehall now have letters that they have to sign to give to PennDOT. Not saying it's 100% go, but saying at this point we are in favor of this. Without this, the project ends. We lose the 22.5 million. With this, the project goes ahead to the engineering studies and looking at, you're not gonna see it in probably till 2026. But this is the first step. We just met with the Whitehall Township and PennDOT and the Planning Commission. We just put the whole package together. They have the letter, I have the letter, Mayor Turk has the letter from Allentown. We're signing it. I don't want to answer for the board, but I'm pretty sure it's a go, okay? We've seen through research, the average home goes up $14,500 in value if it's near a trail. So it's a valuable thing, and it is the only part of that trail. You can go for, it's called the Freedom Trail. You can ride a bicycle from Washington DC to New York City, except for 3.5 miles from Allentown to Whitehall. It's the missing link. And we have lobbied and spent so much time, but we got a RISE grant for $22.5 million. And I can tell you, by going to these national organizations, and I sit with Chicago, Seattle, Miami, and they want to know, how did you get $22.5 million? We worked hard. We really did. But it's coming. But there's going to have to be engineering studies and then environmental studies and, sewer lines, everything has to be looked at.
And the conclusion of the DNL that runs up, I guess, kind of software.
We already got the grant for that.
Okay.
We had a ribbon breaking last spring for that.
Okay.
That's on the go. Thanks to Pat Brown, when he was the state senator, he helped us with that big time.
Thank you.
Oh, definitely.
Any more questions for Mr. Armstrong from the floor?
Anthony Kopak, 3763 Dogwood Drive. My question is, how comes there seems to be no, household hazardous waste information for Lehigh County?
We have that right on our website.
But is there a place that you hold a community event where people can bring stuff to dispose of free of charge?
We've helped the communities. We've had one, we do one every 2 years. We've helped the other communities that want to have them.
Because I know I was looking for something last year, and the only thing I found was a drop-off thing out in Macungie, and you had to be a resident, and there seemed to be of nothing, or Northampton. There seemed to be nowhere in Lehigh County
Well,
or Whitehall that was involved in any of that.
if you have a date, we can help you out. We can work on that. Okay? Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, the Freedom Trail is different than the DNL?
Yeah, the DNL's on the other side.
Yeah, I know where that's
okay,
at.
Yeah. Freedom Trail will be right up along the river. It will go from where the riverfront project is in Allentown.
Right.
Right on up into Wood Street, and then connect up with our trail here.
With the Ironton Rail
Yes.
Trail?
Yeah.
Okay, so that trail's on one side, the DNL's on the other.
And it'll connect then across the river too.
Okay, well, because I've noticed when you're on the Ironton Rail Trail, there's really no signage to get over to the DNL. You have to figure it out by yourself.
Well, there will be when it's
Okay.
all, yeah.
Okay.
That's all part of that grant process.
I haven't gotten on the trail to see the improvements you did last year, but something I like to do, because that's the only place that can really clear my mind, and I seem
I'm
to be
on there
happy.
myself, my wife and I usually, we're there at least once a week. So definitely, and it is a beautiful trail, it really is. The IRT, something Whitehall should be very proud of, it really is.
So then, as of now, there's no collection event scheduled for Lehigh County this year?
Not that I know of it, I can't give you a date right now, no.
Because that seems to be something that's missing.
Yeah, well, we'll look at it.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions for Mr. Armstrong? Chief?
Chief Nelson, Whitehall Fire. Is volunteers 90% of the state?
Get over towards the mic. Thank you.
Chief Nelson, Whitehall Fire Department. Is the state, is covered 90% by volunteers throughout the whole state? As you're aware, we've lost 90% of our volunteer fire departments throughout the state, which is a significant hit. We went from 300,000 volunteers in the state in the 1970s. In 1980s, we've lost 150,000. We currently have 30,000 volunteers in this state. Coming from other states, South Carolina, Virginia, they form county-wide fire departments, which benefits all the residents, because not each individual area has to come up with it. For instance, Copley, I can't imagine putting on a paid staff or anything like that. Combination is...
Emmaus is our only one besides Allentown.
Right. Combination is the way of the future. It's what's happening, it's what's going on. Where's the county look at that?
Well, we have had some discussions on regionalization, but I think it's gonna be more of a push when it becomes economically feasible. Right now, you still have, as you know, in Whitehall, when you wanted to close just one fire department, how territorial people get. So as much as, I'll be very honest with you, I'm up in 3 years and I can't see a countywide fire department in 3 years because I am pretty sure you're not gonna get regionalization yet. It's coming, but it's just gonna be a
We're
little.
already way behind the 8 ball. I mean, we've imploded as it goes
Well,
throughout the state, not just
yeah.
here in Whitehall.
Well,
but
a lot of states have countywide schools, countywide, you know. Pennsylvania's a little different, so
Gotcha.
it's the way it is.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief.
Yep.
Any other questions for Mr. Armstrong? Mario?
Wouldn't be a Whitehall meeting if Mario didn't have something to say.
Well, we rarely see him anymore,
Oh,
so
really?
I feel
Yeah,
honored that
he
he's
was a
here tonight.
regular.
Larry Spangler, 35 Oates Fellowship. Phil, it's good to see you again. Is there anything in the future about Lehigh County having a hazardous waste event?
We're looking into that right now, yes. I can't say when or
Will
where.
it be like once a year, twice a year?
Well, we've done it once every 2 years, is what we've been doing,
Oh,
so.
okay, thank you.
Any more questions for Mr. Armstrong?
Mr. Armstrong, I'd just like to thank you for being here. I know you said you're from the school of Phil and Tom, but I sat in your classroom during one of those 40 great years where you were an educator at Whitehall, so I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Yeah.
I tell you what, the great part of being going everywhere is running into former students everywhere, and that's great.
Thank you.
Really makes me happy. Thank you.
Bill, I guess I have to say thank you for coming.
Oh,
Or else it wouldn't be, you know,
yeah,
a reunion of
well,
sorts.
thank you again. So I will head out then if there's no other questions. Thank you and lots of luck, and we'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you so much
On
for
your
coming.
way home from here.
I think I make two, a left and a right.
There you
and a
go,
left,
you
yeah.
got it.
All right, take care.
Good night.
Okay, moving on. Courtesy of the floor.
Rob Pelagian?
Good evening, Rob Pelagian, 415 Oakwood Drive. At the January meeting, I had asked a status of the treasurer's audit and was told that President Marks and Commissioner Ginder had met with the district attorney and they had received a letter, but they couldn't talk about that until they talked with the township solicitor. I was wondering if anything had happened since then.
Yes. I reviewed this with Attorney Gross. Attorney Gross reviewed everything and gave me permission, if Attorney Cohen would agree, that I could read the letter publicly and basically state where we're at with this. This letter was dated November 16th, 2022, came from Jim Martin, District Attorney of Lehigh County. Myself and Mr. Ginder met with Mr. Martin in his offices in relation to the RKL audit that we requested be performed at the end of the term for every treasurer in Whitehall Township. RKL, the auditing firm, came back to Whitehall Township and told us that the majority of the information was inconclusive and that they couldn't perform the audit. So we went to Mr. Martin and asked for his legal opinion in law enforcement when it pertains to public officials and their fiduciary responsibility. And his response was, "Dear Commissioners Marks and Ginder, I have reviewed the information you provided at our recent meeting regarding missing documents and records that your prior treasurer was required to maintain. In addition, my Chief of Appeals has researched the issue to determine any potential criminal recourse. Based on the research, along with the information you provided, it does not appear that my office has a basis to intervene at this time. However, I direct you and your attention to First Class Township Code, Title 53, Section 55804-A, penalty for failure to perform duties according to this section. A township treasurer or deputy treasurer who fails to perform any duties of the office other than those for which specific penalties are provided commits a summary offense in addition to the fine or penalty which may be imposed upon conviction, is required to pay the township an amount equal to the amount of the financial loss that occurred, if any, for not performing the duties of the office. That person is disqualified from holding the office of Township Treasurer or Deputy Treasurer. Although Whitehall is a home rule charter township, this alone does not necessarily render the township code inapplicable. Whether it is or not is the case cannot be determined by this office. I respectfully recommend you consult with your solicitor in this regard. If you have any further questions or wish to discuss this further, please do not hesitate to contact me. Very truly, James Martin, District Attorney, Lehigh County. Myself and Mr. Ginder spoke to Mr. Gross about this. Before Mr. Roman had his unfortunate health issue, he had requested that we try to pursue civil litigation against the ex-treasurer. Mr. Gross advised us that he did not believe that was in the best interest of Whitehall Township. Reason being is it's impossible to come up with Whitehall's complete loss, and civil litigation is completely different than criminal litigation. And he advised us against it and thought it would probably be a waste of our time, that we would spend more time in legal fees trying to pursue and capture damages than to just leave the case rest.
Okay. So I guess we're back to where we started back when I first asked the questions, and we're never gonna know how much this occurred, and nobody's gonna be held accountable for it.
I'm sorry, all I can
Yeah,
say
I
is,
understand.
we went to every law enforcement agency that we could find, and
It's a shame that something falls through the cracks, and this is the taxpayers have to take it on the chin. And all you sitting up there are taxpayers also, so you're doing the same thing that we are.
understood.
It's sad. Thank you for the time, and thank you for the update.
You're welcome.
Anthony Kopak.
Anthony Kopak, 3763 Dogwood Drive. Well, part of what I want to say, we already covered with the county representative there. And I do appreciate the D&L trail because we talked about it at last week's meeting a little bit on, maybe not just who was responsible for doing what. But another thing was, we talked about what's going on with this barn. What I learned is, what a lot of people think, the government is do as we say, not as we do. That was a perfect example of the township telling people how they should live there and follow rules, but the township doesn't follow their own rules. And then it came up that there's 2 bays used for storage that were supposed to be where these people are working at the barn. What's in these 2 bays that,
Defer to the mayor and his administration on that question.
What's your question?
well, you have employees over at this barn. Where is this barn at anyhow?
It's on Leonard Road, right at the Grimm House and the grist mill. It's a big white barn, very big barn. So your question is,
Well, it was said that there were 2 bays here, that they couldn't have their stuff here because there were 2 bays here being used for storage.
I'm not
You
sure.
might mean the Laurel Fire Company?
Pardon?
You might mean the Laurel Fire Company?
No. We have moved the men out of of that facility. We are in the process of moving our skilled trades area and bringing that up here in the Public Works building until we can get things under control down at that barn. So the men come up here in the morning at 6:30. They get to the point where they can go after a few minutes. They go down to get their equipment, and they're out on the job at that point. The concern that was expressed was that the men were occupying the barn. They are no longer occupying the barn, and they were in there for maybe 15 minutes, maybe half an hour, until they got their equipment, and then they would go out and start their day. Now we have them doing the same thing. They're still getting out of the building, down to the barn. They get from there and out on the road. They have lunch up here or at home. They go back out on the road. So at this point, there's no question but that they're not occupying that building at this point. When we have the water and sewer under control there, then we can make a different decision.
Well, why would we spend money to put water and sewer there? When they should be at the township building full-time?
The barn was utilized because at that point, at the point when we completed the building, we decided that it would be more reasonable to move the people down to the barn. We didn't think there was a concern about that. It's obviously been noted that it is, so we're using this as an opportunity to take a look once again to see if we should complete that project. That's where we are.
All right, and then you also mentioned last meeting that you had a meeting with Waste Management about recycling.
Right.
Now, don't you think maybe some of the residents might like to have a meeting about the recycling with Waste Management? I mean, why was this kind of like a closed-door meeting, it seemed?
Well, it was literally a closed-door meeting. But it was something that we could potentially do in front of the people. We can do that, maybe not next month because Citronia would be there, but we can bring Waste Management in here and have people ask questions. The reason we wanted to meet with them was to determine what's going to happen down the road, what our public works process is going to be for whatever company it is that's managing our waste disposal. So I think I have something here that I can read to you, but I don't know that we want to do it now. They told us things like, the only thing that's getting recycled right now are number 1, number 2, and number 5 things in the recycling world. Everything else is going right into the trash. We talked about how to manage our interactions with them. We feel that we have a good relationship with Waste Management. If you have any problems with your waste, we have information in our newsletter, or you can call us here in the Public Works Department and we'll get out to Waste Management in order to help you. I think the system's working very well.
Okay, and then the other thing I learned from last Monday's meeting was it would appear that the residents' public safety is for sale, because it was stated that, you know, PennDOT got something in exchange to grant that access driveway off Mechanicsville to McDonald's. So, obviously, that driveway shouldn't be open until that whole project's done, the yard's gone, the tree's gone, and you have a proper side of view, and people can adequately turn in there. To have that approved, obviously, the public's safety is for sale. I mean, it's plain and clear, you get a lot of complaints about that intersection and that driveway. People come southbound on MacArthur, turn right on Mechanicsville, and then stop to go into the McDonald's instead of going into McDonald's off 145. Maybe there should be a little sign to let people know, southbound traffic, to use the 145 entrance, not Mechanicsville. I mean, you had a deadly accident there last year at that intersection. Now, I don't know all the details of it, but maybe that car couldn't get through the intersection fast enough because people were turning into McDonald's there, and it slowed them down, and boom, okay, we have somebody killed. I think I'll stop with that right there, but maybe we can have a PennDOT guy actually come to the meeting to address the concerns residents have, because a lot of stuff I bring up, it's always, well, that's PennDOT, we have nothing to do with that, and that's not the case. If your resident brings up concern about a state road, that's a Whitehall issue that you're the liaison for that resident to PennDOT. So maybe PennDOT can maybe show up and answer any questions residents have about the state roads, instead of it just being washed under and saying, well, that's a state road. We really can't have no jurisdiction over it.
All the areas that you brought up are currently being addressed. All the issues you brought up are currently being
I
addressed.
know they're being addressed,
It's just a very timely process.
but
And once again, we have made it known to PennDOT. It's just a jurisdictional boundaries we can't cross. Currently, our township engineer with PennDOT is working on that realignment at that intersection. So we're well aware of the issues at that intersection, and they are being addressed, but it takes time and patience.
But PennDOT approved that because they got something in exchange.
That I can't comment on.
Well,
I'll
have to read the minutes from the meeting last week to
They-
make sure I heard everything correctly.
They issued a highway occupancy permit to McDonald's.
Yeah, because they got something
to
in
that
exchange from
property.
McDonald's.
Well, Frank, do you want to chime in on this, or am I?
It wasn't McDonald's, it was the prior owner of that property, and PennDOT was looking for additional right-of-way. And he said, I need to have an entrance on Mechanicsville as well as 145, and PennDOT granted that. And that's all there is to it. PennDOT granted that driveway into the side of McDonald's. That's entirely within PennDOT's purview. We can't do anything about it. We have no jurisdiction over a PennDOT road and the licenses or the permits that they,
PennDOT got something in exchange from the property owner then.
that's the way you see it, that's the way
He
you see
probably
it.
already had McDonald's as the tenant.
I don't know that, okay? But that was done years before McDonald's even came in. There were several properties that were looking at, or several businesses that were looking at that parcel. McDonald was evidently the last one that landed it, but there was a lot of interest in that. That driveway was permitted by PennDOT long before the McDonald's was even built. So you can characterize it any way you want to.
Right.
Okay, and that's certainly your purview, but, PennDOT has phone numbers. You can call down PennDOT as well, okay, and have them answer your questions directly. I don't know if they'll have somebody come here to answer those questions or not. I've never seen them do that, but they certainly have to answer their phones. So you can certainly call them down on Hamilton, or even stop in and ask for an appointment for somebody to ask them that question. You'd want to talk to the permits department, and they'd be the ones to be able to look that up for you and tell you more detail on that, right? The township has no involvement in how that permit is attained. That's all I can tell you about it.
Okay.
I mean, after all these, different projects and stuff, would it be within our purview or ability to bring someone from PennDOT here?
I guess we could.
I mean, we
I
talk
don't know
about these,
that we've done that before.
Have state representatives in your
Yeah.
district that you could ask. That's part of their job, is to answer resident questions on behalf of the state. Call your local congressman or senator from the state. They look up a lot of stuff for people all the time.
Okay, very well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anthony Mulchaney.
Cheney, 4235 Emmett Way. My question, I was discussing with Commissioner Sloniker, and my understanding is that Whitehall scored about $2.75 million in CARES Act funding. I don't know if that's the exact number, but as a resident, I'm asking how that money was allocated and how that was expensed, or what's left in that funding. 2.75 is quite a bit of change and as a resident, I'd like to get some kind of understanding on that.
Defer
And
to
I addressed that
Deputy
to,
Mayor Myers.
I can tell you, I will have a report to Commissioner Sloniker. Approximately, 1.5 million was used for revenue replacement during COVID. You know, a lot of our township revenues took significant hits, business privilege tax, you know, a lot of building permit things. So 1.5 was for that. There's still about it was 2.9 million that we got.
Great.
So the remainder of that, we were going to be planning to do for some significant stormwater projects that we have coming up. That is one express use for the state and local fiscal recovery funds, is to increase water quality, water purity, meet our obligations under those laws, and the completion of doing the video cameras along MacArthur Road. That is part of a grant project that we have going with PennDOT. That was just recently awarded, but it's going to be upwards in $350,000, $400,000 till we're all said and done. And that's pretty much what we were going to be planning to do with the money, because it benefits all of Whitehall residents, not in a specific zone or anything.
Was there any consideration to a tax rebate to the citizens?
We can't use that money for those purposes. You can't use it for debt refinancing or debt issuance. You can't use it to reduce or relieve any kinds of taxes or fees to the community. That's one thing when they'll come in and audit you at the end of 2024. You better be having, you know, those things in a row.
All right, so there'll be some kind of report or something
Yes,
that will
yeah,
be furnished back to the...
Yep. Commissioner Sloniker asked that of me, and, you know, I want to make sure that everything's done proper before I release it to him.
Great. My second question is, I understand, and I'm sorry, I apologize, I missed the meeting last time, but a few months ago, I submitted to the mayor and some commissioners money that was unclaimed at the state treasury, and I understand there was a recovery of some of that funds. I don't know the dollar amount. And I'm just asking the question, there's about 13 more claims that are still outstanding. Who's following that up? And how much was that recovered? And what's the use of those funds going to be?
Recovered as of 2 weeks ago was $8,452.06. I have about 4 more claims that I submitted, and I have another claim to submit.
Okay, there's like 13 new ones out there on the website.
Did see them after the last meeting,
Okay,
and it all seemed to be business privilege tax related. What I have to do, I have to narrow it down to which were actually businesses in the township.
and whose responsibility is that going forth? Is it the treasurer? Is it the administrator?
Be happy to do it. It's a
Okay.
lot of paperwork, but it's certainly $9,000 worth.
And then how does that get allocated? Just into the general fund?
Yes, yeah. If it was of any significant consequence, we would ask for, you know, guidance from the board on it. But if it's something, you know, they're little $100, $500 and things, it really isn't something that,
Well, about $9,000
Yeah.
is a decent return to the township for money that was sitting there. Okay, and going forth, it's the treasurer's position to do that? And you'll be
yeah.
monitoring the state website from here on? Okay, thank you very much.
Rita Dieter.
Ms. Dieter?
Greg Dieter.
I'm here, that's me, but I don't have any questions.
Okay, you signed in, that's fine. Not a
Greg,
problem.
do you have any questions?
Mis-
He's with me.
Mr. Dieter?
Yeah, I understand that, but no question, okay.
You're okay. Is that it?
All right, that's it.
Anyone else for courtesy of the floor? Okay, with that being said, we're going to move on. Public hearing and voting on ordinances. Bill number 1-2023. This is the second hearing. An ordinance amending the codified ordinances of Whitehall Township, Chapter 27, zoning, Article 11, conditional use provisions by adding subsection 27-137.1, regulations pertaining to short-term rentals, as well as modifying the definition of family, legal. Well, do I have a motion?
Go ahead.
I'll move.
Mr. Fisher, second.
I'll second it.
Mr. Ginder. Any questions from the board?
I just want to say, like I said last week, to thank Lee and to thank Jack Gross and the L&L committee for the many hours of work that went into this to get this established and get this done correctly. So just thank you for everyone who took the time for this.
Any more questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Please poll the board.
Commissioner Fisher? Aye. Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Attia?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker? Aye. And President Marks?
Yes.
Bill passes 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number yes.
Just want to, in case some of you don't know, Rita is our new human resources officer, for those of you who haven't had the chance to get to meet her yet.
Where? I've greeted her.
Thanks for signing in.
All right. Well, Rita, welcome. We've met, we've talked, but for the others that never have.
All right, welcome.
Okay, moving on. Bill number 5-2023, second hearing. An ordinance amending the personal policies and procedures of the Township of Whitehall as contained in Chapter 1, Part 8, Article 36 of the codified ordinances, specifically as it pertains to the township's harassment policy. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Attia. Any questions from the board? I just want to thank Attorney Gross, Deputy Mayor Myers, and our HR staff for creating this and updating this, and I think it'll go a long way in protecting us from future liabilities. Okay. Any more questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Please poll the board.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Attia?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
President Marks?
Yes.
Bill passes 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 8-2023, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for providing operational and maintenance services for traffic control devices for Whitehall Township in accordance with Section 3.20 in the Home Rule Charter, which requires authorization of acquisitions in excess of $25,000 by ordinance. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second Fisher.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Mr. Schneider, please come up and state your name and address.
Ken Snyder, 4272 Abigail Lane. I know this is for the maintenance of the traffic lights, but I think it's a good opportunity. You talked in terms that we've got a grant coming in to take care of the light synchronization on MacArthur Road, correct?
Correct.
During that project, there was 3 lights that were specifically left out, to the best of my knowledge. It's the light at MacArthur Road down here at the Municipal Building. It's the one at Wawa, and I don't know where the third one is.
I believe it's Lehigh Street.
Lehigh Street. And we had meetings where the hospital was going to be doing certain things, and they agreed to incorporate those 3 lights. And you probably know why I'm asking the question. Is the 3 lights going to be incorporated into the synchronization, or is it going to be something that PennDOT is basically saying no?
I don't want to put out a misnomer, but my understanding are those lights are going to be addressed by PennDOT. Am I correct, Frank?
They're looking at a different system than the prior one. It's an improved system for adaptation of the signal timing. So I'm not certain if those 3 are actually going to be put back in. The prior design didn't yield the kind of improvement that PennDOT's looking for. Okay, so.
I hear and I understand.
Okay, I
but
don't
does it
agree.
make sense?
No, well,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
well-
it's like a ribbon, there's a break in the ribbon and no one's gonna fix it.
well, again, that's their benchmark. We're like, okay, we can only do so much, or if we don't see that much of improvement, it's not worth spending the money. I don't know if that philosophy has changed with the new system they want to use, but they've abandoned the prior system that was going to be installed and under which they made that decision. I'd have to check back with them to see if they're going to include those new signals, or those signals in the new study.
So, I sit on the traffic impact committee, which you should know that. We have funds that are available, and I'm gonna ask the commissioners that, we ask our engineer to please review those specific 3 lights, the status, if they are A, B, C, D, or E at the intersections, if I say that, as far as a rating, and whether or not we can justify that those intersections could be improved. There was another accident at that intersection sometime this week, or last week, I saw the fire engine there and things like that. And I would like us that we would have a good handle on those 3 specific traffic lanes. So if you could do that, either through the traffic impact, A, or just out of the township budget, not that PennDOT hands us a pile of paperwork and it gets lost in the system.
I don't think the traffic impact would be applicable. I believe that what we're counting on is with the MacArthur Road improvements, that PennDOT is going to move forward. Like, there's been talk that they're going to incorporate these 3 signals
I know.
into their master plan. And that's what I'm hopeful for
And
at this
I'm hoping
point.
it's not missed, so we can put it on top of the list just to put our eyeballs on
Right.
it, is all I'm asking.
Okay.
Thank
Fair
you.
enough.
Follow up on that.
Joe?
Yes.
If I may, I think there was a 4th light. I think we went down to Everhart Road there. There were a total of 4.
Yeah.
The decision was that there was so much traffic that the thought that was previously held was that was going to integrate with everything else, but it's not going to. And Frank, you might want to address that. Sorry I had to leave for a moment.
I'll find out, because originally, again, those 4 signals, they didn't feel that they would be, they would benefit from the cost. And as it stands now, those 4 signals are tied together through fiber optics, so they do talk to each other. So I don't know how much better it's going to be, but I know with the new type of adaptive signal system, that may actually improve that situation. I'll follow up with them, with their design team, to see if they're gonna include that. Because, again, everything changed. PennDOT's abandoned the old system. They're going with a totally different vendor now.
Thank you. Any more questions from the floor?
One more thing, Ken, I didn't hear all of what you said, but I think you asked the question as to whether or not the development over here was going to yield those 4 lights, but I have no reason to believe that they will be doing that.
I understand that could very well happen. Every meeting that we attend on a regular basis, if it isn't the gentleman in the corner, it's somebody that's discussing MacArthur Road and Wawa. And we know that over time, there's been several accidents in MacArthur Road where people have lost their lives. It's taken a long time to get the light at Lehigh Street because there was a life lost in that particular section. It was taken care of. I don't know how, what we do to get our county, our state legislature, or somebody to hold PennDOT accountable on a faster track, because the accident that occurred maybe a week ago, it appeared, and I could be totally wrong, to back up at McDonald's and the intersection. I think that's what, I don't know. But the bottom line is, they created a situation that is a very strong hazard, and I think it's now at the point, after a year of asking these questions, that somebody goes higher, do we have to bring it to a head to get this thing taken care of. Or, this is gonna sound crazy, somebody go out there with a paint hand and paint the damn lines, and they'll figure out what happens afterwards. And I know you can't do that, But the bottom line is, I would like to see this to become a priority because every meeting is discussed and every meeting is a problem. And I do think our state legislator has to be held accountable for that particular arrangement with PennDOT. Does that make sense? Now, is that an administrative situation or is that a,
Purely administrative.
okay, Mike, would you please?
We've had a conversation about that. They didn't paint that. We had reached out, and it's still not painted. But it's going to get painted. I just don't know when.
It's the kind of thing that we know that with PennDOT, there's a bridge where there's a, I'm going to call it an encampment that's under the bridge on, I'm only talking because of PennDOT, where they built this monstrous thing along the trails. And I understand from a resident that that person has contacted this office and the state legislature to get PennDOT. And PennDOT apparently is making movement because of the amount of activity from the residents to get it solved. I think we have to do the same thing on our side. So if they say they're gonna paint it next week, come Monday, I would pick up the phone, call the same people, and hound on them every week to try to solve this problem, because it is a problem, and it needs attention to that level, if that makes sense. And maybe the police department, I don't know who you all call, but somewhere down the line, I think we're at that level. So can I have your assurance, Mike, that that'll be?
I'll reach out to them tomorrow.
Thank you.
We've done it before. When you were, well, let's not bring up another issue at this.
I'm only referring to that issue because of PennDOT, that's the only reason. I know
Right.
the other
That's-
issue, you probably do too. It's strictly PennDOT related. If you apply enough pressure, sometimes along with our senator, our local legislative person, it may happen, that's all I'm saying. And I mean may, that's all I'm asking.
Any more questions from the floor? Anything else from the board? Please poll the board.
Commissioner Ginder,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Attia,
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. President Marks.
Yes.
Bill passes 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 9-2023, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for purchase of a 5-year unlimited taser cartridge plan in accordance with section 3.20 in the Home Rule Charter, which requires authorization of acquisitions in excess of $25,000 by ordinance. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions from the board? I'd like to comment on this. We joked about this 5 years ago. When they say unlimited, I said, unlimited's a big word to me. Do we get tractor trailers full? Maybe we should really find out how unlimited this is and request one for every citizen of Whitehall Township and see what their reaction to that is. But anyway, I'm just trying to make light of it. Any questions from the floor? Please poll.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Attia,
Yes.
Commissioner Ginder,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
President Marks.
Yes.
Bill passes 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 10-2023, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for payment preservation work, bid number 2023-03, for the Public Works Bureau in accordance with section 3.20 in the Home Rule Charter, which requires authorization of acquisitions in excess of $25,000 by ordinance. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second Fisher.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Please poll the board.
Commissioner Ginder,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Attia,
Yes.
President Marks.
Yes.
Bill passes 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 11-2023, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for the purchase of a new Exmark zero-turn grass cutting machine in accordance with section 3.20 in the Home Rule Charter, which requires authorization of acquisitions in excess of $25,000 by ordinance. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second? Mr. Attia. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Please poll the board.
Commissioner Swaniker, aye. Commissioner Attia? Yes. Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
And President Marks?
Yes.
Bill passes 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Number 12-2023, an ordinance deferring the required installation of sidewalks for 120 feet along the Garfield Avenue frontage and for 120 feet along the New York Avenue frontage of 5191 Garfield Avenue as required in Chapter 21, Section 21-16 of the Codified Ordinances of Whitehall Township. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second? I will second it. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Please poll the board.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Attia? Yes. Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Swaniker, aye. Bill passes 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, moving on. Public hearing and voting on resolutions. Resolution number 3236, a resolution conditionally approving the land development plan of Outback Steakhouse, 1300 Grape Street, index number 2015-22A. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second Fisher.
Any questions from the board?
Anybody here from Outback?
Yes.
If you could please come up and state your name.
Are they going to speak with Australian accents?
Mr. Sloniger wants to know if you have Australian accents. I'm just putting it out there.
No, sir. Negative. John Murphy, Alpha Consulting Engineers, representing Outback Steakhouse. With me is Ron Furlong, the attorney also. Mr. Butler was at the planning commission, couldn't make it this evening, but we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anything you want to come forward with first before we open questions?
No, standard new Outback Steakhouse, around 5,000 square feet, just off the entrance off Grape Street.
I'll make this remark. I looked at the prints and everything else. Everything looks in order. It looks like a fine development in addition to Whitehall. But more than that, I want to welcome you to Whitehall Township, and we wish you a lot of success with your business.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, appreciate it. Thanks for directing me to the restroom, Mr. President.
You're welcome. Not a problem. And if you could give all our residents a free onion peel, that would be awesome.
I think I have to now.
Bloomin' onion. I apologize.
Close enough.
All right, any more questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good luck. Please poll the board.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher? Aye. Commissioner Swaniker, aye. Commissioner Attia?
Yes.
And President Marks?
Yes.
Resolution passes 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution, you're welcome, thank you. You're free to leave, sir, you don't have to sit here and be entertained by us. You're welcome. Resolution number 3238, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners, Township of Whitehall, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, establishing pool pass rates for the year 2023. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Please poll the board.
Commissioner Swaniker, aye. Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Attia?
Yes.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
President Marks?
Yes.
Resolution passes 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, the next resolution, there's been a correction. In last week's workshop meeting, we were told that the cost for a Copley resident was $1,050 annually. That has been revised to $900 for Copley residents. So, let me read the resolution. Resolution number 3239, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners, Township of Whitehall, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, establishing Camp Whitehall rates for the year 2023. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll move.
Any questions from the board?
Just wanted to confirm, I know we asked last week, but for those that are here today, we are moving to one campsite, is that correct?
Park, correct, Mayor?
Will be the only campsite?
Pardon?
Camp Whitehall will be held at Hockey Park, correct? Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Mr. Schneider?
The number of the Copley blew my mind. What does it cost our residents to go there?
It costs our residents $875.
So if you send one child, it's $875 for the summer, is that how it is?
I believe so.
And if you do more than one, is there a discount?
I don't believe that to be the case. It's $145 a week.
No, doesn't hurt to ask.
It's $145 a week, number of weeks, $875
How
total.
long is the camp for, may I ask?
I believe it's 8 weeks.
Hours per day? Is it like a daycare?
Yeah. Full day, yeah. It's
It's,
6 weeks.
8:30 to 3.
3:30.
Okay, thank you. It's
6 total weeks, Mr. Schneider. Mrs. Fennel?
I just have, Lorianne Fano, 3107 North Third Street. I just missed, regarding the poll pass, is there an increase in the fee in the poll pass?
No, we kept them the same.
Okay, and also, are we gonna be allowing residents to come in? Because sometimes kids, like, who have friends in Copley, like my kids do, they come with their friends, they want to swim. Are we gonna allow friends to come with their friends? to swim
Non-residents,
pool?
is that what you're asking?
Yes.
I know with COVID, we put restrictions on residency. I don't know for that to be the case, Mr. Mayor? Has that been discussed by Recreation? And
It was discussed, and at that point, Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that we weren't going to be allowing Copley residents.
Well, yeah, that was, they could go in on the non-resident day pass, but,
Right.
you
Right,
know,
but there
but
was I remember seeing a sign at the hockey pool saying non-residents, and I'm just saying what I saw at the time when my
that was
kids were
during
going.
COVID. We had a,
This was just,
This
this
was
past,
last
this
year.
Oh,
was
was it?
past summer,
Okay.
Joe, there was actually
I'd
a sign.
have to check, I don't.
Okay.
I remember, I
speak
took
out
a
of
picture
turn.
of it, and it said no residents, non-residents, so like, I'm looking at this also as a revenue aspect, that if we allow Copley, who's right next to us, to come in, that's money for us. You know what I'm saying? Look at the money aspect, you know, kids have, they're friends with each other, we're neighbors pretty much. Look at Hawk and Docker Street, one side's Copley, one side's Whitehall. You know what I'm trying to say? I like to see maybe residents come back in, get that revenue, that's money for us. to
I think
get
what
in
the
our
problem
homes.
is,
So-
because we have limited capacity, because of the issues at Cement and Jefferson,
True, but still revenue, Joe.
I understand, and I totally agree, but what I'm getting at is, we don't want to, we have to, well, I gotta watch what I say. We have to take care of our residents first. And what I'm getting at is, it would be shameful if we had to turn away Whitehall in lieu of others. And I don't want to be insensitive when I say that, but, you know, it is our pool.
I get that, Joe, but at the same time, like I said, these are little kids, especially when you got like excessive heat waves and their kids are together. I mean, it's just, and unfortunately, not everybody has the, what I call in our township, has the proper issues that they can get a pool in their own yard. There's permits you have to get, that's expensive. So sometimes it's just easier, like I said, if I had my kids with their friends, I'm just trying to say, as a revenue aspect, and kids having a place to go and play, and, you know, keep them out of trouble, giving them something fun to do. I think, you know, good government, maybe you guys and Copley should work something out together.
Can
That
we
would be a great idea, in my opinion.
Can we
That's all I'll say about
evaluate,
that.
actually, quick question, can we evaluate, like, you know, the capacity of the pool? Like, is it being used at full capacity by Whitehall residents? Could we allow extra Copley residents in? Like,
we would have to check,
And-
you know, whether or not, you know, especially legally, you know, if we're allowing non-residents to come in, can you only restrict it to Copley, or do you have to then open it up to
Now,
anybody's?
My kids have gone there a couple times, like, and I was actually with them. I have not seen that they worked at a full capacity, like where you can't, like, hey, there's no more coming in. I have never seen it like that, as many times as they've gone
Can we-
down. No, we weren't season pass, we just kinda did a daily pass.
can we evaluate the data over the summer, the first few weeks, see what's coming in, see how many are coming in?
Yeah,
and
we
make
could do that.
Then just make a decision based on that?
I know I asked the same question to Mr. Coca previously in one of our rec meetings, if the pool had ever been, speaking about last summer, if it ever, we had to close the doors or say we couldn't because of capacity. I don't think there was a day where we had any capacity issues, but we also weren't allowing anybody else in, so I think we'd have to maybe look at those numbers.
Don't be fooled, Mr. Atia, because I'm gonna be honest with you, my kids are kids, and they go down there with their friends, and it's just a good way to keep friends together. I think it's just a good idea, like I said, I believe in good government. If, maybe you guys reach out to Copley, maybe you guys can team up, you know? I'm just saying, it's been brought up in the past, I've seen it, because I've been attending these meetings since 2016.
I've seen it. We can work something out, and I just think it'd be a good government and good also revenue that we would not be losing to go into a rec, because, you know, you're very much involved in your sports and all that. We need something, and we're down to still one pool, correct?
Correct.
So I understand that aspect of things, and I hope somewhere that we get a second pool or something that these kids have a second choice to be cooled off, especially when they get these excessive heat waves during the summer. Thank you for letting me speak, I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. Any more questions? Please pull the board.
Commissioner Tia,
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Ginder,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
and President Marks.
Yes.
Resolution passes 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3240, a resolution approving the amount of interest return to be credited to Police Pension Fund member contributions for fiscal year 2022. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Please poll the board.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Ginder,
Yes.
Commissioner Tia,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
and President Marks.
Yes.
Resolution passes 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3241, a resolution approving the retirement and the commencement of monthly pension benefits to former Patrol Sergeant Brian Kuth. Do I have a motion?
I'll move Fisher.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
If I could comment, Chief Mazzatelli, if you could convey to Officer Kuth how grateful we, the board, are for his service to Whitehall Township for all those years. Thank you. I said it last week. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Please poll the board.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Tia,
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Ginder,
Yes.
and President Marks.
Yes.
Resolution passes 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution.
Can I just make a quick
Yes.
comment? I hired Sergeant Kuth, and that was about 1990, I think. He and Ken Stevens are the last two, and they were in here a long, long time, and they did a great job. They're going to be missed. That's it.
All righty. Moving on, resolution number 3242, a resolution to establish the amount of the treasurer's bond for 2023, with said bond to be secured to the County of Lehigh Clerk of Judicial Records. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Please poll the board.
Commissioner Ginder,
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Tia,
Yes.
President Marks.
Yes.
Resolution passes 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3243, a resolution conditionally approving the land development plan of Take 5, Whitehall, located at 2603 Mickley Avenue, Whitehall, index number 2018-22A. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second Fisher.
Any questions from the board?
Anybody here from this development? Can you please go forward?
Alex Tweedy with Langhorne, the civil engineer for the project.
You wish to comment on anything before?
Now, I believe the resolution is in order, and we've submitted conformance plans, and we're looking forward to getting this project built.
Question?
Yeah, I do.
Please come up.
What, or through the commissioners first?
Okay, yeah, any
Commissioners first.
questions from the board? Could you please hold this? Any questions from the board?
No, I thought you did. Do you have any questions? No, this guy here next to you, one of the mentors.
I don't know what's going on.
This is
Ordinance
final.
3107 North Coast Street, Whitehall. What exactly is this that you'll be approving? It says Plan Take 5. What is that specifically?
It is a quick lube oil change facility. It's located right in front of MacArthur Commons Shopping Center where the barber shop and the daycare is. So it's a 3-bay, quick service oil change facility. Customers don't get out of their cars. It's drive up, get in line, oil change, and leave the property.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions? Any more questions from the floor?
I just want to say Outback Steakhouse was more fun than you, but you know.
I think so, if your car is not.
We're just glad it's not a mattress, another mattress store.
If you can convey to your principals that we're grateful and welcome them to Whitehall Township.
Well done, thank you.
Thank you. Please poll the board.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher? Commissioner Attia?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker? Aye. Commissioner, President Marks?
Yes.
Resolution passes 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3244, a resolution conditionally approving the minor subdivision / lot consolidation plan of Deborah Hartman located at 5191 Garfield Avenue, Whitehall, index number 2016-23A. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
One second.
Mr. Attia? Any questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Is anyone here to make comments? Please state your name and address, sir.
My name is Brad Rock. I'm with Lehigh Engineering. I'm the designer of this plan. I just wanted to know, I saw that it's not on here, and the fact that we submitted the deferral for the sidewalk, is that?
It's been
Voted on that earlier.
Yeah, it's been deferred.
Yeah, they just voted on it.
It was back like four back, sir. It was an
It was
ordinance.
an ordinance.
These are resolutions.
Okay, all right.
The deferral was passed.
Okay, thank you.
It's okay to make a mistake. I do it all the time.
Yeah, every township runs a little different, and I just didn't really follow that section there.
You always like a blooming onion or
What, 2 years, a year and a half?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any more questions from the floor? Please poll the board.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Attia?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker? Aye. Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
And President Marks?
Yes.
Resolution passes 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3245, a resolution for sewage facilities plan revision for new land development at 4217 and 4219 Bridge Street, Whitehall, PA. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Please poll the board.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker? Aye. Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Attia?
Yes.
President Marks?
Yes.
Resolution passes 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Now, this is exciting. Resolution number 3246, a resolution to be recognized as a Pennsylvania Audubon Council bird town. Do I have a motion?
I'll move. Fisher.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions from the board?
Just want to make a few comments on this.
Mr. Fisher can answer all your questions.
Maybe. I just want to thank the Environmental Advisory Committee for working with the Legal and Legislative Committee to bring this to fruition. It's a great ordinance. It really connects us with other communities in the state that are recognizing the activities of the Audubon Society. So I hate to try to put anyone on the spot, but I want to recognize Deb Rosine, the president of the EAC, and I don't know if she wants to have any comments on this. If
Yeah. Okay. Please come forward.
Sure. Deborah Rosine, 4408 North Church Street, Whitehall. Probably a lot of you are scratching your heads and saying, what the heck is Birdtown, PA? Well, hopefully it's going to be the start of what's going to be a whole lot of great new things in Whitehall that's going to come from the Environmental Advisory Council. So focus on environment, focus on birds, maybe some good things in Whitehall Parkway we're hoping, and events. If any of you came to the Hoot Hike last fall, we really want everybody in PA to know that we're a bird town. So I really appreciate your support.
Thank you. Any more questions from the floor? Well, with that being said, please poll the board.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker, wanted to think about something sound like a bird, but I don't know how. Aye.
I will not allow sound effects, okay?
Commissioner Ginder
Caw. Yes.
and Commissioner Attia
Yes.
and President Marks.
I will not do that. Yes. Well, congratulations. Whitehall is now Bird Town. Okay. Under other, motion to approve the release of escrow for completed and withdrawn projects per Deputy Mayor Myers memo, March 2nd, 2023. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Oh, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions for Deputy Mayor Myers? I want to hear crow. Any questions from the floor? Please poll the board. Oh, where? I'm sorry, Mr. Snyder. Will you crow for us?
The project that you have.
Please state your name and address.
Ken Snyder,
Sorry.
4272 Abigail Lane. The project that we have down by Lehigh Street, which is the townhouses and the condo association, where there are issues that are going down there. Do you know what I'm speaking about? As far as the roads and all the other good things. Where is it?
Haven Ridge?
Haven Ridge.
Yeah, it's on
Is
the
that on the list to be released?
No,
That's all I want to know.
no. We've got to finish the.
No list.
They just, no, they just,
No, this is just St. Luke's Hospital building.
Oh, because it said list, and I didn't know. Thank you.
Any others? Please poll the board.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Ginder.
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher.
Aye.
Commissioner Attia.
Yes.
And President Marks.
Yes.
Motion passes 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, report of public officials, Board of Commissioners. I will start with you tonight, misters.
Okay, I'm wondering, are they gonna pick up Christmas trees soon? Because I was gonna sell it to this commissioner over here, but he's reluctant because it's browning up. I mean, it's been sitting there, and I understand the reason why, is because it's there, and they come in the middle of the, middle of the night, and they don't see it because it blends in with other things, but it's,
some lights
soon
on.
it's gonna be,
Let me know in January.
hey, listen, I give everybody a time.
Could I suggest you put your lighted Christmas suit jacket
Well,
on the tree so they can see it?
Well, I
on
don't
the-
wanna hug the
Okay,
tree.
all right.
I'm not that kind of a guy, but.
Charlie Brown tree for next year.
Normally I can try to sell it to Phil, but he was reluctant this
I
year.
have extra this year, I don't need any more.
So, that's all just so that they, one of these days can pick it up. It's not hurting anything yet, so,
That's all you got?
that's all I have.
Mr. Ginder?
Aye. I got an email from the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, and they're inviting us to participate in the Lehigh Valley General Assembly, which is held virtually on the 29th of March at 7 p.m. The meeting is an opportunity for municipal, school district, county legislative partners to come together to learn what is going on in the region. During the General Assembly, we will review 2022 development trends for the region and take an in-depth look at training opportunities. To host an inclusive regional General Assembly, we're asking every municipality in Lehigh and Northampton counties to be represented by at least one official, as well as legislators for our region. Planning effectively for the new norm means that we need all municipal partners at the table. Please come prepared to participate. Now, I am on the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission. This board assigned me to that months ago. If you want, I can do this, or if somebody else on this board wishes to do it, this is not an exclusive club here. I take it that I should go.
Phil, I'm gonna go anyway.
Well, you'll go anyway, but I will be Whitehall's representative then.
It was virtual, right?
Yes, it's virtual. That being done. Next, From legal and legislative last Wednesday night, a comment was brought up to us, and I wanted to make a thank you. I know we covered some of this before, but I promised I would do this. I want to thank Tony Mulchaney for bringing to the township's attention information on claiming unclaimed assets with the state. Treasurer Corrin checked into this, and the township received checks totaling approximately $9,000. I know this was addressed earlier. I had it in my notes, and I promised I would do it. All right, moving on. For 2023, Mr. Mayor, the Board of Commissioners should have a current list of firemen's relief officers and members. You want to make notes to this?
Yes.
Also for 20...
Dave, are you hearing this?
No, I didn't, I'm sorry.
Please, Phil.
For 2023, this Board of Commissioners is entitled to have a list of the current firemen's relief officers and members. We would appreciate having that so we know who these people are, and we could say thank you, or if we have questions, ask them of them.
Absolutely, I'll make sure you get that.
Also, for 2023, we should get these every year in January, but somehow we don't. For 2023, this Board of Commissioners should have a list of the fire department officers and members of each station. Again, when we see them, we would like to say thank you, and we need to know who everybody is. We don't see everybody all the time, and if there's questions, we certainly have the ability to ask. We just talked about Mechanicsville sidewalk a week ago. I'll rest that, Frank. The Rec Commission Comprehensive Plan Update. Mayor, I know you talked about when we get a new rec director to take care of, get that moving on. Will that be moving as a priority?
That will be moved as a priority.
Next, on the Lenhard-Hunziker barn, the so-called Recreation Department Workshop Building. I think it's important for this Board of Commissioners to get together with somebody from staff and have a walkthrough of that building. I don't believe anybody up here has been in that building in years, nor knows what the township plans to do and spend money on there. So before the township comes to this board looking for money in budgets and things, and I think this board needs to see what's going on down there and what the plans are. Fair enough?
I'm willing to take, well, Tony can do it, or I'll come along.
So we
You
need
tell
to
me
make
when.
arrangements. We will not do that right now. Maybe after the meeting, we can get together and find some type of schedule for even an evening and an after, or whatever, whatever. We'll figure that out. But that needs to be done. I won't hit all of these. Jack, the Treasurer's Office audit for 2022. This is the annual audit that we asked to start doing last year.
This is, what they call a SOC 2 audit. This is actually readiness assessment. It isn't focused upon the dollars and cents as much as it is, looking at internal controls and proper practices and procedures. That Treasurer Corrin can speak to it a little bit better as to where they are, but that's the essential function of what's to be accomplished here. And that's in the agreement with the school district that we do these things annually, to check out and make sure our internal controls are appropriate.
Madam Treasurer, you want to comment on that, please?
We meet with him in this room every Thursday. I think it's an hour. It seems like 2 hours, but it's an hour, and he reviews everything we do.
Does this board get a report on that at all?
You will probably get something at the end of the process, because the actual audit won't take place until either late this year or early next year. This is just to make sure that the treasurer's office is in a position that, you know, they could accurately do and realistically do an audit of the procedures.
That's great, thank you, thank both of you
The
for
one
that.
thing with, it's gonna take a while, because right now we're still at stage A. Stage Page B is they're gonna actually come into the office and watch the work in progress. And they're gonna say, that's not working so well, we need to readjust. So it's gonna be a long process.
That's okay, I was just curious that the board understands where we're at with that. I'm glad to hear we're as far as we are with it.
Yeah.
Moving down here, we talked about Riverside, I don't mean to belay that. Mayor, for the year 2023, the current year we're in, this board should have a list of all the playground and park officers for each and every playground and park. I believe we're due that.
Yes, you are.
I had it in my notes here, and I'm just going to take a minute for our new HR director, Rita. Thank you. We didn't get a chance to meet you, but I'm sure we all eventually will. And then thank you for taking a step to come forward tonight. We wish you well here in Whitehall, and thank you for all the efforts. I spoke about the Township Comprehensive Plan. Have we put anything forward on that? Looking for grants.
Chad looking at that.
Chad Helmer's looking, so we get something moving there. Next one is, we talked about the cement and firehouse inventory. Chief,
want to
have we
address
got
that?
that at all?
No progress.
No progress. Do we have any type of an idea when we'll have an inventory of what's in that building?
I will have to talk with the quartermasters, and like I said before, they're volunteers, so we gotta work around their schedule.
Well, maybe we can get somebody besides these fire volunteers, because they got their hands full, volunteering for fires and stuff, and I don't think we have to really dump this on them, you know. As I said, we could get a couple commissioners or somebody from this township to go through and take an inventory there. I don't think we have to ask our volunteer firefighters for one more thing than what they're doing for us now, because these people are pushed to the wall for time between what they're volunteering for, and they have home lives and personal lives too. So we need to get going on that, in my opinion. I don't know if the board's wishing to back me up on that or not.
I am.
Thank you. So we need to get it done. It has to be done.
All right, I'll send the schedule out for you.
Next I have, I thought this was taken care of. Chief Nelson, if you could come up here to the table with the mayor, so we're not going back and forth. I was under the impression this was taken care of. And if I'm going too far, Mr. Attorney, stop me, but I don't believe I'm gonna go too far on this. This refers to a firefighter by the name of Tucker Siegfried. He was a firefighter in this township from 2016 till he joined the Navy in 2021. My understanding is he had all his certifications for the fire company.
He did.
Now, he's home on leave this past January from the Navy, and there's a fire incident which he shows up to go with his other volunteer firefighters, and from there, things happened, and he was told he couldn't do that anymore. And then there were discussions on that. And my understanding is we were told he could be a firefighter. He was never taken off the list. So, before this guy could be contacted, he left, his leave was over, to go back to the Navy. My understanding is he's on a ship in the Pacific Ocean. He's a seaman in the Navy. We find out yesterday that he never got a letter from the township saying that he was a firefighter, again. He never got an apology for the way he was treated. None of this ever happened, and I was under the impression that this was all taken care of. How this seaman, I don't know who comes home on leave and goes to voluntarily fight a fire with his buddies. There's not many left like that. Now, this young man volunteers the Navy to protect this country. He comes home on leave. He volunteers to go to fires. I understand he has the certifications and he's still on the insurance rolls. He was never taken off, is what I was told. And this is how we treat him?
Well, you don't have the full story, sir.
Well, then let's have the whole story. I want to know why this veteran did not receive the letter of apology that I was under the impression. Anybody else up here was under that impression?
Yeah, I made the formal request that a letter of apology be sent out to both Tucker and his father, Kevin Siegfried, and their family.
So before these lights go out tonight, I expect to have this straightened out, so this young man who's serving our country somewhere on a ship out in the Pacific Ocean can take this out of his mind
He already did.
and be respectable. Well, he has no letter, he's telling us.
Well, if you look on his Facebook page, it says that he knows that he's back on the fire department. So let's start from the beginning,
But
because
does he have a letter issued to him?
I don't know. Did the mayor issue a
Did
letter
you
to him?
issue a letter?
I was not asked to issue a letter to him.
Mayor, did you issue a letter or an apology to this man?
I can show you the letter.
Was the letter sent to him?
I believe it was sent to.
Where was it sent to? Can you go get a copy of that letter?
Now, is this a reinstatement letter, or is this the
I
apology
called-
letter?
Let me go back. I told him while he was here that he would get a letter. I called him and told him personally that he was reinstated, and my belief is that there was a letter sent to him. I will
But you're
have
not,
to go-
you're not 100% positive.
I'm not positive about anything right now, Phil.
Do we have a copy of this letter?
I can get a copy of it.
Can I get a copy of that letter, and I assure you, it will be mailed?
I will go get one.
I assure everybody in this room, I will take the time to go mail that letter. I assure every one of you, what this man deserves, he's gonna get.
I believe that it was sent. I believe that he got it. But I don't know that because he left to go to his station in Seattle or wherever it was before that letter was, I think it was Thursday or Friday, after the Monday event. And I believe that was sent to him.
Hey, and when can I expect a copy of this letter?
I'll get you a copy of it tonight.
I will wait for it after the meeting, and I thank you for doing that. Now, Chief, I did not mean to cut you off. I'm just trying to get to the end of this, and nothing missed. Please go ahead with what you want to say.
Okay, so the department comes up with standard operating guidelines. Okay, this is how we operate, this is what's required for training and so on. All these rules are brought to our assistant chiefs. We have an assistant chief meeting. In every meeting, they vote on it. They are given the opportunity to address it, change things or anything else, because they're the ones that got to live by it mostly. So we've discussed that. One of the things is if you do not live within the township or surrounding areas, that you are no longer on the fire department. When Mr. Seafried actually joined the Navy, when he came back, his assistant chief asked if he could run. I said, when he comes back for his 2 weeks, because he had only been gone for like a month and a half for basic training, and came back, that he was more than willing to run. But after that fact, since he was going to be moving out of the state and we wouldn't have any way to keep track of training or what he would be doing, that we would not be able to allow him to stay on the department. When he came back to live in the area, that we'd be more than happy to have him. But unfortunately, I can't keep track of his training records. If he was to get hurt or injured, that's the first thing they're going to ask me for, is training records to see where he was at. I had no way to keep track of that. His assistant chief was asked to advise him of that, and he did not. When he showed up on the fire scene, I saw him there, and I said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "I'm responding to the call." I said, "You've been taken off the insurance." I was not aware that our insurance covers every single person on scene forever how long. That was never made aware to me. So all this stuff was actually addressed prior to the call, and I have no problem if he wants to be on the fire department. We can still talk about that, and we've talked about some different ways that he can get some training to continue on with that. I've reached out twice to him via text and asked him when he was available, if he could give me a call. I've tried twice to call him. I don't know what his schedule is, and I don't want to interrupt his day during his day. I have received nothing. I saw on his Facebook page that he said that he's back on the fire department. He's aware of that, and that's all I know of it.
I'd like to clarify things. I made a request to the mayor after this incident was reported to me. Myself and Mr. Ginder held a conference call with Mr. Siegfried the night before he was to ship out. At the request of the family, I made it, and I would have done this for anyone, but because he was a fellow veteran and currently serving active duty Navy. I went to the home at the request of the family. I sat down with Tucker and his father, met the family, apologized. I think the disconnect here is, Chief, and I believe that this is the wishes of the board. Anyone that serves this country in the reserve component or active duty. Now, I understand where you're coming from and I respect where you're coming from. But there are certain protections that our service members have, Soldiers and Sailors Act and such. Now, I understand that Mr. Siegfried can't train regularly with the Whitehall Fire Department, but he is a naval firefighter. I understand that their standards may be different than our standards, but he has his Fire 1 certification. We have to value these people. And I understand your position as chief. You have to have the ability to manage people, manage their schedules, manage their training. But we have to show value of these people. And as a fellow veteran, I'm sure you would agree.
I agree.
We need to value these people. I mean, they're.
I didn't devalue Kevin Seafried or any of those people.
And I'm not saying.
And I got ran through the ringer as the guy running off a veteran when I'm a veteran myself, and that is not the case.
Understood. And I personally was run on the ringer also. Mr. Siegfried reached out to me
I
today
understand.
and said he never received, I let him down.
Well, I got told to F off up at the corner when he was in a township vehicle flipping me off and everything
No,
else.
no.
That's not this
This
young
is-
veteran.
This is
No,
Tucker.
that's his father.
No,
Yeah,
no,
we're
yeah,
talking
we're
about this
talking,
veteran.
we're
We're not
talking about the
talking
young
about the father.
veteran. And I received a text from him today that said that I disappointed him and let him down as a fellow veteran. I assured him, when I talked to him and the family, both through a conversation with Mr. Ginder and then privately in their home, that I would get a letter of apology to him, rip, shit, or bust. Unfortunately, that action never took place. He is claiming that he never received the letter. Now, this has been months, not days, not weeks. And I'm not holding you personally accountable or you personally accountable. But this should have been taken care of. And this isn't the first time. This is the third time we're having this conversation. We need to value these people. And we need to, what more can you say? When people are willing to put their lives on the line for this community and then serve in our United States military and put their lives on the line there, we have to value these people. And I just have very strong feelings about that. So let's get this situation rectified. If this letter was not sent, let's go out of our way to show this young veteran firefighter that he is valued by the people of Whitehall Township. Because I can assure you, I don't think there's anyone in this room that would disagree with the statement I just made.
I value all our firefighters that are here as well.
Excuse me?
I value all of our
Oh,
firefighters, not
absolutely.
just
No,
the
no, no.
veterans.
No, don't get me wrong, and don't take that in the wrong context.
I'm just telling you where I stand.
I understand that. And of course, that's your job, that's our job.
I want to make sure every single one of them is trained properly, that when they go to a fire, that they're capable of doing the job that needs to be done, and they get home safely to their families. That's my
I can't
job.
agree more, and I can't agree more, and you're absolutely right. But there seemed to be a misunderstanding with the situation, and I'm going to defer to your expertise. You're the fire chief of Whitehall Township. I'm not going to get into the weeds on any of that. You can certainly run your department as you feel is needed. But what we need to do is be more compassionate, more understanding. I understand that there was a miscommunication
This
here.
all could have been simply taken care of if somebody just came and talked. But they didn't do that.
Well, that didn't happen.
I agree.
But can we rectify the situation and get a letter of apology out to this young man stating that we're sorry, this will never happen again, and this won't happen to future potentially veterans or firefighters as a whole? Can we just get this done, Mayor?
Of course.
Okay. Mr. Ginder, I'm sorry.
I don't mean to belittle this, or drag this on, that's the other word I was using, not belittle.
Belabor.
I will get that letter, and I will be at the post office tomorrow with it, I assure you. I need this young man's address. We'll come up with that, but this can't happen. This isn't how we treat our volunteer firefighters. If you wish to go that far and open that up, we'll open that up. But on top of it, this is not how we treat a veteran, young man. That's firefighter 1, I understand, correct?
Correct.
He has firefighter 1, which is about as high as he can go.
No,
Okay, you can go farther, but firefighter 1, he can enter a burning building.
correct.
So it's, He has good credentials, he
I
has
agree.
good schooling and
I have
and an
I have
awful
no
good
problem with
background.
his training level. It's
And
just
yet
continued
He's
training.
a veteran doing that job in the Navy. This isn't how we treat them. We don't give people limp handshakes and say, thank you for your service and walk away. We show results to these people that step forward. Volunteer firefighters, police, and these military personnel that step up today. And that's all I'm gonna say on this. I thank everybody for working together to get this done. I will wait for that letter tonight. And at that point, I think I've covered what I wish to cover this evening. Thank you. for your
Mr. Fisher?
patience.
Thank you, Mr. Gunner. Mr. Fisher, thank you, Chief.
Okay, good evening. So I have my usual roses and thorns of stuff I want to talk about. The first thing, I do want to thank EAC for what they've been doing and what they have done. On March 5th, was it? There was a big cleanup along Range Road. I mentioned it last month. It was a smashing success. We got a lot of the road cleaned up right behind Walmart, and that was thanks to the volunteers. And on that note, on March 26th, from 9 a.m. to 10:30, there's going to be another cleanup along Front Street in Fullerton, starting at the Wood Street Playground. This is part of EAC's Adopt a Highway initiative in Fullerton. Once again, we are looking for volunteers. We need people. This is how we get it done. There are things in the township that the township cannot do that have to be done by the residents, by the volunteers. This is our community. If we want it to look pretty and not like a trash heap, we literally need to do it. So, I mean, I don't want to take away what has been done, but we got more events coming up. So follow along on the EAC Facebook page, and follow along on the Whitehall Township community page. More information will be available there. Second thing I want to bring up, similar thing, the e-cycling drive. That's coming up on May 20th. It's 9 o'clock.
Middle school.
At the school. We've been doing this, are we going to an annual event now, or a?
Yeah, we're trying it this way again.
Okay.
We used 2 last year. Things worked out well, but we wanted to evaluate what was going to happen if we go back.
Okay, the second thing I want to bring up, and I kind of want to bring it up as some of the residents' comments, do we think, so, being a few months out, that we could possibly integrate a hazardous waste cleanup into this as well?
I just got a text from I don't mean to interrupt. The county executive texted me and he says, looking to have a hazardous cleanup in September. It will be in the county newsletter in June.
Okay.
So that's customer service.
That is.
So,
My questions are answered. Okay.
It's a costly
Okay.
thing to do. It's a lot more than the electronics and the things, so that's my only concern, since
No,
we
I-
didn't budget for it.
No, I understand. I'm just glad that, the county is gonna, we have some source to move forward on that. So, Mr. Kopek, there is your answer. Now that is customer service right there. Okay. I want to thank Jack Myers on I got a good look at the sign coming in tonight. I don't know why I've missed it. Maybe it's because it's dark, maybe because it's now daylight. The sign looks great.
It's not lit yet.
Oh,
We have to run the electric to the sign.
well, I thought, take a compliment. Take a compliment. It looks great. It looks great. It looks great. I'm very happy. Okay, I'm just throwing this out there, I don't know if it's gonna go anywhere. Have we done any research? I know it's just been last week, but, is there any thoughts moving any of those EV grants to any of the private companies who may be able to use them?
I saw the first one that I sent out to you and everybody else. But I think Chad said about that one, and I read through it, that this was going to be open to the public. I don't know that we're in a position to be able to place any significant number of these things anywhere on this complex.
Oh, no, I understand that, and I appreciate that from last week. I'm just wondering if there's a mechanism that we can communicate this to some other businesses or entities who might be able to
Right.
take advantage of it.
The Lehigh Valley Mall, I sent something off to Colleen Ansbach. Did not do anything with Washington Prime.
Okay. I mean, it's definitely something we should let them be aware of, and I appreciate what you've done
And
on
there's
that.
I think there was a new one. I didn't get a chance to check it, but it was, as it looked to me when I went through the emails, it looked like it was potentially the same thing, dressed up a little bit. So, I haven't done anything with that yet. I think I may have sent it today.
I'll be honest, you sent me something tonight, I saw EV, and then it was the meeting, so my bad on that, but
Oh,
thank
no,
you.
it's not bad.
But anyway, but thank you. The last thing I want to just talk about, and I kind of want to throw this out there, we've mentioned it at a few meetings. We haven't mentioned it at a board meeting, but I kind of want to bring it up as a thought, which would be some sort of a public email system. Now, we have the township newsletter that comes out quarterly. We've talked a little bit about in the past, but in this day of like the internet and email, I was wondering if we could like take into consideration some way, like an electronic like newsletter that could go out maybe monthly, bi-monthly. It would be cheaper. I mean, and to supplement the current newsletter, we could do the same thing with a newsletter. We could make it revenue neutral in terms of like selling ads in it. I think it just might be a mechanism that we can more readily communicate with members of the township. And I'm not, because I know we got Facebook, I know we got Twitter and all that other fun stuff, but I myself, I rely on email.
Concha Hawken does that monthly, I think. I'm not sure what form it is. I can reach out.
It doesn't even need to be something as extensive as the township newsletter, but even just like boom, 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 here's a bunch of dates, like, of events coming up, here's recycling. It could be rehashed of different things coming up in terms of like all we talked about with recycling this month, like, the 1s, 2s, and 4s for recycling. Just try to like, as that extra means to get people out. There's MailChimp, there's all sorts of like, electronic ways to manage these mailing lists. And I actually don't believe that much of an extra expense, and I do believe it could even be revenue neutral. So just an idea to throw out there. No details. I just kind of want to like float it into our consciousness.
It's a good idea.
That is all I have, and I will yield my time.
Mr. Tia?
I just wanted to ask about the comprehensive rec plan. I know we talked about, or came up earlier about the new rec director and waiting
Right.
for, did he start yet?
No, and he
Okay.
won't be until early April 1st. And so I've been playing with the idea of, I didn't realize he was coming that late. So I think, as we had before, I'd like to do something in the last Thursday of the month, and we can sneak that in here and get started again.
Because it's been such a long time since we last met, I think it would also be beneficial maybe just to revisit all the members who were invited,
Right.
see if they're still interested, and then potentially bring on anybody who might, because we've been talking about it for a long time now, there may be some others interested. But that's all. That's all.
Mayor's report?
I have a couple of things in here that we talked about tonight, and I have something here that is actually it was done by Deb Rosine after we had a meeting with Waste Management, the notorious behind the doors, Mr. Kopek. We met with Waste Management to learn about their services and things we can do potentially decrease the cost to decrease the cost of services as well as improve the efficiency of recycling. For example, and you need to retrain yourself, Chuck. For example, the only plastics they recycle are coded 1, 2, and 5, not 4. These codes include water bottles, yogurt containers, and the plastic containers for most food. Other plastics like PVC, foam food containers, and unspecified plastics are not recycled. The most important thing we can do to help the recycling process is to never put materials to be recycled in plastic bags that are then put in the recycling bins. That's a big problem. These bags can entangle the sorting equipment and ultimately cost our township money. For more information, visit recycleoftenrecycleright.com. That's a product of waste management, and it's expansive. You can get a lot of information in there. It's something that we need to do. For most of you out here, you may not know that we had the first curbside recycling program in the state, and we still do it. A lot of people have given up at this point, but we're still doing it, and I think it's appropriate that we do. We had a lot of PennDOT meetings this month. Met with our staff to discuss the progress of traffic patterns during the redecking of the Race Street Bridge. Along with Frank Clark and Pete Terry, we determined that changes needed to be done to the intersection of First Avenue and Pine Street. We will evaluate conditions during the process if necessary. That's going to be a problem no matter what we do. Their detour gets you to First and Pine Street, and that's a tough road because you don't have anything on the westbound lane on Pine Street, and it's going to be a concern. We don't know exactly what we're going to do. We have recommended, and they've accepted, that we have more bigger and more expansive signs out there so that people can understand what the flow is supposed to be. I think, Frank, you and I and Pete had concern we were going to see significant backups on Front Street. So we're going to monitor that as we can. We got a new copier. That was good. And everybody's been trained. Attended a Teams meeting with Allentown representatives. I got yelled at in front of some of you because we deigned to have a meeting with the Allentown staff in order to deal with how we're going to manage together the Riverside Drive project. And we spend an awful lot of time there. I think it's appropriate that we did that, and I think at this point, before we left there, it was clear that we had a better working relationship after we had that meeting, and I'll continue to do that. I just think it's inappropriate not to be communicating with them. TASA grant, we got up to date. Phil was sitting in on that, and Frank was dealing with that. We had a meeting, I think a fairly good meeting with Cornerstone. They handle our police pension fund. Jack, I don't know if you want to say anything about that. Everything's doing well. We had a Riverside Drive floodplain meeting with A.D. Marble, and we've gotten them in a position where they understand what's going on. They'll be moving forward with their program. The staff internally, along with Attorney Gross, have had a meeting about the old police building. We're working that through so that we can get that underway and get it sold. And we've been, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to jinx it, but we had a really good meeting with Keystone Engineers and other folks that have been working with this 72 pipe niggling problem that we have, and I think it's going well right now. Those are the highlights.
Madam Treasurer?
It's your lucky night, I have 2 months of reports. So, I'll give you January first. For the month of January, we closed out the 2022 tax years. All the delinquencies were sent to Portnoy. Township real estate is as followed. We were delinquent with 135 bills, 784 garbage bills, which I don't think is that bad. All business privilege tax invoices were sent out and business licenses were sent out. We're trying to crack down on some businesses we're discovering need amusement tax licenses. There's a new business that just opened in Whitehall with many vending machines. We made payments to the township and school district to close out the 2022 year, and all delinquencies were sent to G.H. Harris. And then for the month of February, we received 799 tax bills and central administration payments. March 1st came the garbage and real estate. Of those, 799 receipts were receipted, 225 were for business and business privilege tax license with a revenue of $191,000. We have identified many businesses that were not licensed. We receipted 6 school interim bills in the amount, it's a minimal amount, and we closed out all the interim bills. On March 1st, we have been a constant flow of taxpayers coming into the building. We have 1,000 pieces of mail so far, and we're only 1 day behind, as opposed to last year when we were weeks behind. So they're working very hard. We reached letters out. We discovered a problem that Whitehall Copley School District sends us a list of their graduates each year so we can pick them up on the per capita, but none of the other brick and mortar schools ever were contacted. So we got Bethlehem Catholic, we have all those schools that are now going to send us their graduation list so we can pick them up. And I sent you the reports, financial statements, you got those. And the last thing I wanted to mention is, and I hear this every day, is if we could go to credit card payments and ACH payments. And the funny part of it is a Girl Scout was selling her cookies on the corner of Rook Street, and she takes credit card payments, so.
It's true.
If we could please look for it to help process these payments. And people, there's a lot of people that don't live in the township, they're landlords, and they call to make payments, and we can't take them. So if we could revisit that, I'd really appreciate it. That's it.
Any other business?
At Girl Scouts on Rook Street?
I think she's still selling cookies.
My credit card.
You have a hand down there.
The hand was up first. Can we be brief, Mr. Schneider?
It will be super brief.
Okay.
There was 2 things that were just discussed tonight. I know maybe the audience isn't aware of this, but in the beginning of the year, we talked in terms of audits. I learned from tonight's discussion that the audit is not an audit as I think of an audit, dealing with dollars and cents. It's an audit based on the way the tax office is going to be functioning and collecting. That's correct, right? So because we had the issue last time, my question is the treasurer's office starting out with the correct balances as the time they took over, and has that been tied in?
Everything that was failed on last year's RKL report is now electronic, and everything is stored electronically, deposit slips, bank
That's not my
statements.
question. The question is that there was a ballpark number of low six-figure numbers we heard that was missing. So when you started out on your term on January the 1st, and the commissioners ordered an audit, I assume the audit would have tied in all of the numbers. That's not what the audit is about. What the first audit is about, that the procedures are being audited, which now I understand. It's the first time I'm hearing this tonight. So the question I'm asking is that when December 31st comes around of this year, will you be starting with a correct baseline? And has that been established by the auditors that would say that your account currently has $11 million in and has been verified on that day, January the 1st, that is correct? And I know the audience probably thinks I'm crazy asking these questions, but for the last 15 months we've been going through this, and I don't want to sit here on December 31st and say, oh, we don't know what our baseline is. Because these are two different audits that was communicated to the public. Am I right in saying that? That's all I'm asking.
The RKO reconciliation audit was never performed because the aggregate was not there.
Right.
Jack,
true.
Yeah.
if you could explain on how we came to the number, the starting number and the ending number for the following fiscal year.
I'm not concerned.
Okay.
I understood that
Maybe I
they couldn't
misunderstood.
figure it out. I get it.
Right.
But someplace in my checking account at home, I know that my base on January the 1st had $1,000 in it, and that was a given. Did they establish a given on all of our accounts of what they are? Escrow accounts, general fund, or whatever the checking accounts are, so we know the base.
Well, Whitehall Township always has knowledge and our audit, see, we're talking 3 audits here.
It's okay.
You know, the one is the policies and internal controls, which is being done now. The other was the one that was supposed to happen when the prior treasurer vacated the office,
Right.
which could not be done because they didn't have sufficient records to perform those. The other one is the township's audit, which audits only exclusively every one of the township's funds, recreation, capital, all that stuff.
That's right.
Those amounts are reconciled, and the 2021 numbers to 2022 were done with the reconciliation of the township's books with what the auditors found, and those jive. And the same thing we're going through now, where the auditors are in doing their field work on the 2022,
For the
end of
township.
2022, yes.
So my
We know what we have in our account now, you know, or on January 1st.
So
We
my-
have
My
those.
question to Treasurer Tina is that, are you satisfied that on January the 1st, that if the audit gets done on December 31st, that you can sit down and say that my starting balance were these numbers, and the auditors have agreed that is my benchmark? Not that it carries from the previous year over. Do you know what I'm trying to say? There's got to be a line, and I agree whatever happened, happened, but I want to make sure that you're covered, that you know that this is my benchmark for this date on this year. Has that been established? Which means that an auditor would pick up the phone and say, our bank reconciliation for the treasurer's office is $11 million. Mr. Bank, do you confirm that we have $11 million in this account and it ties together? That's the question.
I think I can answer that.
Go ahead.
They're doing an audit right now,
On what, may I ask?
on Jack's side, the administrative side.
His side, I understand.
But I'm also included in on that audit. So I spent 3 or 4 days, I had to supply during that audit all my books.
I understand.
And they went through them and they asked me about certain things. So all my books were audited at the same time their books were audited. Now,
But that doesn't tell me, if I follow that trend, which you're telling me is correct, the other arrangement is that the auditors couldn't determine the numbers to be correct. So I'm asking today, that the commissioners, the mayor, and the treasurer agree that on December 31st or January the 1st, we have a set of numbers in the treasurer's office that is correct. Not that we find that there was a balance of $11 million, and oops, we found that in 2000 such and such, it tied over and you really didn't start out with that number. That's a fair question to you, to make sure that it's done that way, because we're paying all these auditors, and sooner or later, we gotta start on a blank page and say, what happened last year is gone, but you, Tina, are accountable from this point going forward. Do you have that number?
yes.
Do you have that number?
I believe we do, yes. As it pertains to the township, you gotta understand,
Well,
there are,
I
these
understand.
are distribution accounts that the school district is involved with as well.
And I understand that for the benefit of the audience, there are 3 people that are involved. It's the township, it's the school board, and there's things I'll call miscellaneous funds, which is garbage, et cetera, and all the other good stuff that happens. So you may feel that your number is correct because you're collecting X number of dollars, but it doesn't solve the question that I'm asking, which is in the treasurer's department.
I think what you're getting at is, I think the disbursements from the treasurer's office to the township, that's all being reconciled.
Okay.
And I think it's gonna take till the end of this fiscal year, because we couldn't do that reconciliation audit at the end of, do you know, I don't know, I could be wrong.
To answer your question, I think that we agreed that in January of January 21st, 2023, everything that we have from her reconciles with our records.
So, on December 31st of this year, there's going to be an election. And the election is going to have certain things that are going to occur. When they had a transfer of the treasurer's office, nobody did anything the way they should have done. That's A. When you come into January of this year, on the 1st, and you all know I'm running for commission, the first question I'm going to ask, are we balanced? And I'm not looking for somebody, whether I win or don't win, to sit back and say, we don't know what the starting number was. So I want to make sure that the deputy mayor, the treasurer's office, the mayor, and the commissioners, and the bank all agree, this is my starting number for this year. That's a fair question that everybody should have done, because we all agree, can't figure out what the hell happened before, but going forward, this is the base number, and not that we continue to sit down and say, I don't know, I'm not sure, I think it's done, it's not the case. And that's a fair question, because I'm gonna ask you at the end of the year, are we in good shape? And the answer is yes in the audit. Your audit that you talked that you were doing, every meeting that we were here and you talked about audits, you always use the term the treasurer's office is being audited. My understanding of an audit was dollars and cents and numbers. It wasn't until tonight that I understand, no, you're auditing procedures, which I understand now. That means nobody is auditing the dollars and cents. And I would really like to know that if we don't resolve it tonight, by the next meeting, everybody can sit here and put out a report and say, this is my starting point on this particular day, so there are no questions or problems.
Yeah, and I think I can answer that.
Go ahead.
The one piece that's missing is every month, whatever comes into the tax office on the tax side, business privilege, garbage, real estate, I reconcile the statement. I send that money along with my Tyler report, which tells me how much was receipted, and the Burks report, and those two have to match.
I agree.
And that's what I send to the township. So I technically have zero at the end of every month.
No, that's not true. Commissioners, if I'm wrong, please tell me. The treasurer's office has a balance that you started with that was in a checking account. That's
Carryover.
Carryover.
Correct.
That number has to be known. Am I missing the point? You all have checking accounts and numbers, you have a starting balance. We have a starting balance. Do you know what that is? I agree, January and February, you're balancing it out every month, but you don't know what your starting point is.
At the end of the year, I pay out whatever's left in December. I close out the books. I technically should have nothing left in the treasurer's disbursement account
So
because
you're
I'm paying it out.
You're telling me that our treasurer's office has no account with a balance in it at the end of every month, or it goes to zero?
Yes, it should. As long as I get those reports done. Business privilege, I kind of am a month behind because of
So
payments.
all of your money is transferred over to the
Yep.
township at the end of
And
every
the
month?
school district.
I mean, even with our distribution account, which is where, no matter what fund it comes out of, it's paid on through that distribution account. We don't maintain anything more than $50,000 in that distribution account.
So that means her starting number on January the 1st, in theory, would have been $50,000.
No, that's those
yours.
are our accounts.
But you know your number. What is her number?
January, I should have nothing left in that account.
But
I
you
pay
don't.
it out.
You have money in that account.
No, it's minimal. It might be,
It is minimal. The only thing we'll carry over should be a minimal amount of money to handle overdrafts,
We used the term-
bounce checks.
We used the term minimal the last time and wrote off $80-some thousand tonight.
I've never called that minimal.
I understand, but it's not worth our time to pursue it, and I get it. But the point is that I do not want to sit here 12 months from now and we don't know the answer to this question. Because I'll ask the commissioners, do you know that that number has been established? Yes or no?
No,
No.
no.
Okay.
We're here, what we do is not to reconcile the books and everything. We get that information from the treasurer and from the deputy mayor. I mean, we're not involved in making sure that the books are correct.
With all due respect.
We don't have that, we don't have the expertise nor the information to do that.
With all due respect, Commissioner Stoniger, I agree it's not your job to know the day-to-day operation. But because of that, in the last 18 months, there's things that have gone array. And now, it became your responsibility to make sure going forward we're covered. And that's what I'm saying. I do agree with you that it's not your responsibility every day to make sure she's going, but it is your responsibility to make sure that we're starting out at point one.
We have to rely on other people. For you, and that's what I'm saying, you're asking as part of our job is, oh, now we have to go in and do our own audit. I mean, that's what I'm
No,
getting
not-
from you.
Sir, that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking that all the parties that we sat here for 15 months asking questions on have an understanding of where we're at. And the answer I'm seeing is, he may understand and she may understand, but I didn't hear the mayor say he understood, and I didn't hear the commissioners understand. And that's why I'm asking that question, because as a resident, and you're paying money for these audits, I would assume that the accountant would have walked in and said, look it, Treasurer Tina, you're gonna start with these balances because we know that to be the case. You gotta do that.
The reason why I can't sit here with confidence and tell you that, yes, I'm confident is because that audit never took place.
Well, if you.
But now, you have to give it time to clear, if you get my drift.
No, because if I have in my checking account an error of $50,000, I can do a journal entry that says there's an error of $50,000 and we are now starting with a number of X. And that's what the auditor should have done, in my opinion, or somebody know where the X is, because you need to do a journal entry in order to cover it.
There was no X because the reconciliation audit was never performed. So we had to start, she had to start and create her own base, basically.
And that's what I'm asking, what is the new base, and has everybody agreed that that is the base?
Oh, yeah, I mean, we have to accept that it's the base.
What is the base?
What is the base? You want a dollar figure?
What I'm asking to make sure that everybody understands that the base has been established, and the mayor, the commissioner, and the treasurer's office, and the deputy mayor has agreed that this is the number.
Oh, I'm confident the base has been established. If that's, yeah, I'm confident that it's been established.
Are we okay? Tina?
The one thing I do want to explain is every month I send this to the commissioners.
Yes, I know that.
Beginning balance, ending balance is zero. Next
Yes.
month, the bank statement, and this all works out every month.
I would agree, based on what I've heard here tonight. But the base is still the question, or the commissioners have enough information on their side that they feel comfortable.
The only thing I can't commit to is, we started all over again. Do you know where I'm going?
New bank accounts and everything.
Okay, and then you've established a base by opening new accounts, and you know that account is current.
If I'm not mistaken, Jack.
We went to a new
We
bank.
changed
and
banks, new
everything-
banks, new accounts.
Yeah.
Then your answer to
No,
me is
everything.
that whatever happened in account A still sits, and we opened a brand new account, we went back to zero, and we did that. That's all I gotta know.
There's a whole
Thank
new
you.
way of doing this. I'm not an accountant and speak, but,
understand.
I'm comfortable with this new bank that we have and
That's all I want to
everything
know.
that's gone into this and all the new accounts and the new reports.
you.
I'm confident we're on the right track here.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move, Fisher.
Do I have a second? Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Can I get a township envelope with that I can mail in a township envelope?
Sure. Yeah, I think I can get that from
Son? Son? Oh, every week. I'd be dead.
Gentlemen, when would you like to walk through the Limehart barn?
The last couple of days driving to work, I thought about just
Mike here.
This is
You need to get in
Yeah,
there.
you're
Pile of money down there.
This is
Maybe we
their
can not put
job.
in that
The
building,
fact
put
that they
up some kind
come,
of pole buildings.
well, they were coming
You know,
when
the
it was
discharge
built already.
churches are
And I understand that, but they
That
go
old
by
police station.
all the time.
They
And
horse
it's
its
not
ass
like,
and that thing
oh,
together.
well, we only.
It was never right from day one. They spent
And it
hundreds
hasn't
of thousands of
moved.
dollars and they
That's
never
just
put a new
it.
roof on the building when they remodeled it. And the water leaks have been ever since.
Well,
And I don't
and
wanna
I
get into
feed
that
the
again.
birds
I
and all
thought-
that, but it's just
But
the
you
fact
guys
that
need to,
it's just,
to
it's
bring the hammer
ridiculous. I
down
mean,
that there's not money
for
thrown away
it to
down there
be
for
there
nothing.
now, I'm
Because
just
that's
sort
how
of like,
fast it happened with the old police station.
what do I do? I mean,
He's probably back there typing. He's back there typing a letter. He's back there typing a letter right now.
and I understand that, and I enjoy that kind of stuff. It's just that, you know, after a while, you're going like, what don't you see here?
I'm gonna reach out to him.
What's your address?
Oh,
Police chief, fire chief.
Heidi's Road. 41.
Are we off?
On the last major road that goes north. It goes to